The Twilight Samurai clan, a cult that is obsessed with the notion that its members have been tasked with the duty of bestowing apocalyptic doom to anyone who did not follow their ways. Garrosh Hellscream, a once noble orc warrior that had been blinded with his lust for power which ultimately led to his downfall. And even Neltharion the Earth Warder, otherwise known as Deathwing, who was corrupted by the Old Ones into the brink of insanity, are just a few of the many threats that we, as the heroes of Azeroth, have been forced to confront and defeat in the world of Warcraft. One foe, however, still remains to be a threat to us. A foe that we have not been able to defeat entirely, but instead we're only able to push back and overcome in a few occasions. This enemy that possesses so much power and that we have not been able to quell so far is the Burning Legion. During Sargeras' never-ending war against the evils of the universe, he became increasingly depressed by the chaos he saw wrought by all kinds of evil. While his confusion and misery deepened, so too did he begin to lose faith in his campaign of serving as a protector of the universe. Eventually, the Nathrazim, otherwise known as the Dreadlords, made their presence known to the Titan due to their horrific actions that disrupted the Titan's mission of instilling balance and order to the galaxy. The Nathrazim conquered numerous worlds by possessing their inhabitants and turning them into their puppets. The nefarious Dreadlords even managed to turn entire nations against one another by manipulating them into blind hatred and mistrust. It was because of their sadistic nature that forced Sargeras to confront them. Even though Sargeras defeated the Dreadlords with ease, however, their race's corruption affected him deeply. Eventually, the Titan began to give in to despair and doubt, which caused him to not only lose faith in his mission, but also in the Titan's vision of an ordered universe. In time, he came to believe that the concept of order itself was all a lie, and that chaos and depravity were the only absolutes within the universe, which caused him to abandon his mission entirely. His new mission was to now undo the work of the Titans, which caused him to forge an army of complete chaos and anarchy who would serve at his whim. This army was to be known as the Burning Legion. In the Nathrazim's eyes, malice is the ultimate gift, which is why their race and culture is so sadistic. To torment another creature with physical or moral agony offers something superior than both happiness or contentment to the Dreadlords. The Nathrazim thrive off of the suffering of others and often tend to use their talents to manipulate individuals of high power so that their bonds and relationships with other individuals would either be destroyed or broken. This is evident with Balnazzar and the Scarlet Crusade. Through the Dreadlord's ability to possess an individual's corpse, Balnazzar was able to possess the body of Saidin Datharan, a high-ranking individual of the Scarlet Crusade, after killing him. Through Datharan's physical appearance, the Dreadlord continues to manipulate his Scarlet Crusade soldiers in an attempt to amass an army strong enough to serve as he wills. Even though the Nathrazim feed off of the pain and suffering of others, their code of conduct forbids them to ever murder one of their own. Only once has this code ever been broken. When Sylvanas Windrunner orders Varimathras to kill Balnazzar in order to prove his loyalty to her, he initially was hesitant to break the Nathrazim code. In time, however, he valued his life above all else and quote-unquote killed Balnazzar. However, the murder proved to be a failure, as we learn in time that Balnazzar is still alive. It can either be concluded that Varimathras either faked the murder in order to let his brother live, or Varimathras actually believed that he had killed one of his own, when in reality, Balnazzar had faked his own death. At the time of the War of the Ancients, as the Highborn were attempting to channel a portal strong enough to summon Sargeras into the mortal world of Azeroth, the fallen Titan dispatched 3 of his most dangerous lieutenants to do his bidding and to oversee the progression of the portal. They would have succeeded if it were not for the efforts of Malfurion, Illidan, Tyrande, Corialstras, Ronan, and Broxigar. When the portal to the other realm was almost open, the combined forces of the Night Elves and their allies charged in to destroy it. Irritated by the lack of order, Azshara approached the Pit Lord Manaroth and demanded an explanation for his failure. Manaroth, enraged at both his own failure and the disrespectful tone of the Queen, stated that he wanted to rip her head off, but quickly saw the error of his ways when he saw that Azshara was a force against which only Archimonde and Sargeras himself would prove superior. Azshara forgave his mistake and urged him on to allow Sargeras' entrance into Kalimdor. This time, however, without room for error. Fellsteeds are mounts that warlocks are able to summon at level 20. The story behind the Fellsteeds were that they were once a race of wild horses that roamed the lands of Desolace. However, the Shadow Council corrupted them utterly and bound them forever to the service of warlocks. Unlike Felsteeds, however, the Dreadsteeds, which are the epic ground mounts that a warlock can learn at level 40, originated from a different planet entirely. These fiery mounts are born on the planet of Azeroth, which is one of the worlds that is under the control of the Burning Legion. Something to also note is that the Dreadsteeds are the most favored mounts of the Nathrezim. Archimonde, the left hand of the fallen titan Sargeras, was one of the greatest, strongest, and darkest of all of the Eredar alongside Kil'jaeden the Deceiver. During the second invasion of Azeroth, the Eredar Lord launched a massive attack on the world tree Nordwisil in an attempt to drain the tree from its energies. He was ultimately defeated by Malfurion when the Night Elf raised the Horn of Cenarius and called out to an army of wisps that rose up from the surrounding forests and amassed around Archimonde, detonating a massive explosion that destroyed the Demon Lord as well as incinerating the forests around the world tree. However, it is stated that if Archimonde was to succeed in draining Nordwisil from its energies, that he would gain untold powers rivaling those of Sargeras himself. During the Third War, Doomlord Kha'Zix was one of Archimonde's most trusted and favored lieutenants. The Defiler even left his own blade, known as the Warblade of Archimonde, in Kha'Zix's hands. Kha'Zix would wield the blade in respect to his commander during every battle and shout out the words, "For Archimonde," which would rally his demon soldiers to him as he would begin his assaults. After the defeat of the Legion, however, Kha'Zix was forced to pull back his forces and occupy in a ravaged area in the Blasted Lands known as the Tainted Scar. Although he was the right hand to both Kil'jaeden the Deceiver and Archimonde the Defiler, and a very skilled lieutenant in the heat of battle, he lacked independent initiative. Trapped within the Tainted Scar, he was completely cut off from contact with any other demonic forces on Azeroth. It is also stated that even if the Nathrezim, including Vadimathras and Balnazar, were aware of his presence, that they would likely avoid contact of him for fear of the Demon Lord's power. In the novel The Sundering, the Old Gods are stated to be more powerful than the Titans, including Sargeras, the Lord of the Burning Legion, who is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, of all of the Titans. It is also stated that if the Old Gods were to break free from their prisons and were allowed to use their full power, that even Sargeras himself would plead for the peace of death before them. During the War of the Ancients, Hakkar, the Houndmaster, was the first member of the Burning Legion to ever set foot upon the mortal world of Azeroth. His mission was to assist Savius in strengthening the portal to prepare for the rest of the Burning Legion to come forth, but his objective was inevitably altered when he realized that Crassus and Malfurion would prove to be a noticeable threat if he did not deal with them. As the Houndmaster engaged Stormrage and Crassus, the Sisters of Elune also joined the fray and attacked the demon. However, Hakkar managed to stand his ground, and as he was about to murder Tyrande Whisperwind, Malfurion Stormrage stepped in and called down a fierce lightning storm which vanquished the Houndmaster. In the original timeline, however, Hakkar actually survived the War of the Ancients and was killed during the Third War, but when the Old Gods warped time and space in an effort to escape their prison, the timeline was altered in many ways, which in turn altered the course of the War of the Ancients, which led to Hakkar's death at the hands of Malfurion. Malorn, the enormous white stag tasked to roam the lands as a protector of nature, was the father of Cenarius, who inherited his dominion over nature. During the War of the Ancients, as the minions of the Burning Legion swept through the lands, Cenarius led a number of demigods against the soldiers of the Burning Legion. As the Legion recognized this new threat that seemed to change the tide of the battle, the demons began to refocus their attacks on Cenarius and the other demigods. The vast legion of demons overwhelmed the demigods, which resulted in Cenarius being badly wounded and completely surrounded. His father, Malorn, however, charged through the ranks of demons and saved his son, which allowed the Night Elves to scramble to the demigod and pull him to safety. Malorn alone stood his ground against the demons, as they were unable to push him back or overwhelm him even with their countless numbers. His mighty hooves trampled hundreds of demons, while his antlers shifted through their ranks like a knife cutting through butter. Then, Archimonde the Defiler came forth onto the battlefield and engaged the giant stag in single combat. Black lightning struck the land around Malorn, baking it. Then, green fire from the ground engulfed the mighty stag, burning his coat, while the land and rock formed giant hands that pinned his forelegs to the ground. Malorn, however, managed to free himself from the Eredar Lord's trap and charged Archimonde with his antlers, causing tremors and lightning as demons and Azeroth's races nearby shook and fell to the ground flat on their backs with astonishment, spectating the battle between the two giants. Although the noble stag put up a vigorous fight, Archimonde managed to seize Malorn by his antlers, and with great force, the Defiler snapped his neck. Cenarius' brave rescuer, and own father, limp and lifeless, was tossed aside by the Eredar Lord.